I would say that there's a lot of people in general overwhelmed. Like you're saying, it's a huge purchase. It's the biggest purchase they're going to make. And so I think it goes back to letting them know that I'm in the driver's seat and I'm a very good driver. So they don't need to be too worried. I'm going to lay out all the pros and cons. I won't get emotionally involved. So that's what I'm here for.
Welcome to the Dream Home Podcast, the show where real estate meets real talk. Hosted by John Nagle, a seasoned expert with over $7 billion in real estate financing experience. This podcast features top realtors, builders, and financial pros. Whether you're buying, selling, or investing, we've got the tools to help you make smarter moves. Here's your host, John Nagle.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Dream Home Podcast, where we spotlight the people, places, and programs that turn the dream of homeownership into reality. I'm your host, John Nagle with CMG Home Loans. Today's guest is a name synonymous with real estate leadership, education, and community in Central Texas. Monica Malorgio Katz. Monica is a broker and owner of McNabb & Company Real Estate Services and SMTX Property Management based in San Marcos. Her journey spans over 2 decades in real estate, and she's touched every part of the industry. From launching a successful real estate firm during the 2009 housing crash, to acquiring and growing a full-scale property management company, to mentoring new professionals and teaching senior-level real estate finance at Texas State University's McCoy College of Business, where she was twice honored with the Excellence in Teaching Award. But her leadership doesn't stop there. Monica has also served as president of the San Marcos Area Chamber of Commerce, president of the Four Rivers Association of Realtors, president-elect for Texas State's Friends of Fine Arts, and is an active member of the Bobcat Club Leadership Council. She is a rare professional who has not only built businesses, she's built people, community, and culture around her. Monica, welcome to the Dream Home Podcast.
Thanks for having me.
So, Monica, let's start with your real estate superpowers. What would you say sets you and your companies apart in such a competitive space?
Well, when I first kind of drafted the business plan, I was looking at what's our competitive advantage. At the time I was early 30s and the average age of a realtor was about 57. So it's something that people do as their third, fourth career choice. And I kind of came up with this concept of what if you just literally graduate from college and become a real estate professional? It is a profession. It doesn't have to be something you do on the side or on the weekends or for stay-at-home moms or things like that. So we kind of took that angle as, at the time, sort of my youth being the advantage with technology, and with just being able to relate to that first-time home buyer, which at that time was also similar age range. So I think that was kind of the first sort of competitive advantage that I recognized. The second one was that San Marcos, which has grown leaps and bounds in the 20 plus years I've been here. But at the time when I started McNabb & Co. in 2009, it was pretty much a small community in terms of real estate brokerages. And they really hadn't had any competition. So they all kind of were just, every office looked like a 1980s condo out of Port Aransas. And so my mindset was, let's sort of Sex in the City this. Let's have the high heels and the pencil skirt, and let's go all the way with sort of class, boutique style, and just elevate it. And it's funny now, if you look now, that's happened all the way around, but that was sort of my in was, I was young, I was a female, and I was going to make it a true profession.
Yeah, so you launched McNabb & Company in 2009, right in the middle of the housing crisis. That's bold. What gave you the courage to take that leap?
Well, I started the business plan actually when I was getting my MBA at Texas State. I was working with a professor doing the graduate process. And at that time, he was really encouraging me to get a PhD. And there's very few women in economics and finance. And I had already been in real estate, already was a broker. And, I kind of just said, well, as much as I love teaching and that avenue, there's sort of a ceiling, whereas with real estate, there's no ceiling. So, I continued along that path. But during that process of writing that business plan was about a 2-year process. The market was not what it was when we actually launched. As the time came to launch, and I would tell people, this isn't just a project. I'm actually going to do it. And everybody would say, you're nuts, you're bonkers. Why would you do that? You're crazy. This is the worst time, the worst idea ever. And I guess it just struck me that every single person thought I was crazy, which made me realize that was a good idea and the right time. Because with my business, and any business background, anybody in real estate, it's a cycle, it comes back around the horn. So from a barriers to entry standpoint, if I'm the only one that's crazy enough to do this, then I kind of have nowhere to go but up. So when the market turns, because we know it will, then I will be sort of more positioned to crush it. And that's basically what happened in a nutshell. I was able to just really control overhead. And I did not have a brick and mortar at that time. I was still just working out of my house. So I was able to just shore up and get sort of prepared for the time when I knew the market would turn. So.
Yeah, it sounds like a great strategy, because that was a time a lot of people go against the grain, and you did it at a time when everybody was probably getting discouraged and saying it's not worth even, getting working on projects right now, and you were ready to go when things started to rebound. So that's a pretty awesome story. So many of your clients are first-time home buyers, investors, and even student renters transitioning into ownership. How do you and your team guide people through what can be a confusing process?
Yeah, I think, well, for one thing, every person in my team is going to have a different personality. We actually spend a lot of time doing personality tests about ourselves, learning about ourselves, and then how we navigate with each individual client. So it's not going to always be the same. For example, my preference is numbers, spreadsheets, no feelings. I'm a little more suited for investor, commercial, versus the residential. Some people are the opposite. They really love the feeling and the residential side. So I think it's knowing who you are and your personality and understanding ways to adapt to the client. At this point, I do kind of go 110%. So for me personally, I do remind people, hey, I will go all the way. So you need to tell me, hey, slow down but I think that most people enjoy that sort of driving the train is what we call it. We want to be in the driver's seat because that gives the client a little bit of reassurance that they're not having to, reinvent the wheel. We've done this before. We do this all the time. And to just get that confidence from the get-go of, let me lead the way. You tell me slow down or this, or, you call balls and strikes and I'm going to maneuver to what fits you best. But I think it's actually a lot of the relationship personality side that we try to focus on, because every person is going to relate to me differently and I'm going to relate to them differently. So just being aware is kind of one thing that we try to focus on a lot.
Yeah, that's a good point about the commercial versus residential side. Is residential is definitely more about emotions, and commercial is definitely more about, do the numbers work? So that's a different approach for both, for sure. Right. So can you give us, I'm sorry.
The leasing and the tenants too, these are short-term, their priorities are not going to necessarily be the backsplash, for example. It might be the location near the bus route. So honing in on the priorities and the goals, maybe top 3 goals, and then working that way.
Yeah. And you're also guiding them too. A lot of these are first-time tenants, so they're nervous and they're scared, and they're investing a good portion of their life savings, right, to go into business. So it's very important that you're able to help guide them in the right direction.
Yes, that's where resale value becomes really important and something I talk about in the beginning, which, I always kind of say, look, this sounds silly. You haven't even bought it and we're talking about selling it, but you do want to consider that resale, the percentage of people that stay in their first home, second home, third home. We know the data. So, the reality is you're not going to be in this home probably as long as you think you are. So, we want to go into it considering resale value too.
Absolutely. So can you give us a real story, a time when a client came in feeling stuck or overwhelmed and how you helped them through it?
Every day of my life. Yeah, I think, most realtors will tell you we're not just real estate professionals, we're therapists, we're, family, we're mothering, everybody kind of needs a different angle. Some people want you to, shoot them straight and give them the shot in the arm. Some people need a little more of just the listening. I would say that there's a lot of people in general overwhelmed. Like you're saying, it's a huge purchase. It's the biggest purchase they're going to make. And so I think it goes back to letting them know that I'm in the driver's seat and I'm a very good driver. So they don't need to be too worried. I'm going to lay out all the pros and cons. I won't get emotionally involved. So that's what I'm here for. I'm just going to say, here's the pros, here's the cons, here's my opinion if you want it, based on the goals you originally told me you want to achieve, and just kind of keep it more in a, not so much black and white, because that's kind of impossible, but in a more just, it's a business decision. You can change a paint color, you can change a backsplash, you can add landscaping. So let's look at the more core fundamental issues and overall life goals. Do you want this to be a rental at some point because you're going to buy another property or what have you? So, I would say that's, to try to pick one would be really hard because it's pretty much on the regular.
Yes.
But just going back to the core goals and the, what is their reason for doing this? And if you can understand that, then I could take that information, put that into the X's and O's, into the numbers, and into a logical decision-making process.
Yep, that makes total sense. So I always love this part. Let's talk about something awesome. You've been an award-winning teacher, a mentor, a business builder. What's one moment in your career that made you stop and go, wow, this is why I do this?
I think there's probably been a lot. So when I was teaching, I don't teach anymore. I taught for 9 years in McCoy, and I kind of, not on purpose, concluded that I had my own farm league. So I kind of were recruiting my students because they were graduating with a degree in finance. Those are the people I wanted. I wanted the smart, business-minded numbers people. And the fact that pretty much all of them are still with me 16 years later, I think that's exciting. Wow. They've all grown in their life, in their world, in their real estate portfolios. So they understood the mission of, using real estate to grow your wealth, not just as a shelter. It can also be a way to grow wealth that you can pass on. But I think that's probably the biggest one, is just seeing the success of all my team, because when I met them, they were, 22 years old. And then seeing it probably reflected in my two daughters. I have one that just graduated from A&M, one that's at Texas State, and, seeing how awesome they are, and just realizing that, I was a single mom. They were with me at showings, and, my youngest was in the carrier at listing appointments. So they've grown up watching me hustle, and then to turn around and realize that I wasn't saying do this and do that. I think that now seeing them be that same way is kind of awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing, because being able to have them participate with you in your business and see the leadership that you were showing as a parent and as a mentor from the business side too at the same time. Yeah, it's a pretty awesome example, and obviously the results are showing in them and what they've turned out to be today.
Yes.
So you've inspired so many, from students to agents to community leaders. What keeps you motivated?
So motivation is an interesting word. We do try to preach self-motivation, but I kind of would replace that word with discipline, because that's really what it is. I was an athlete my whole life. I was a gymnast. I was a gymnast through college. I coached. I was a gymnast at Texas State, which at the time was Southwest Texas. I taught in the classroom. The coaching, I have realized, is really what I like, the sort of competition and the sports athletic kind of angle of it. And, nobody wakes up every single day fully self-motivated. And in real estate, you have to be. Mm-hmm. So it's really more about discipline. It's whether you are motivated or not. Do you have the discipline to say, okay, here are the 5 things I should at least get done every single day? Am I going to wake up and do those things? I often tell my team, do you get up and make your bed? Because the people that wake up in the morning and make their bed statistically are just simply more successful. So it's just waking up, having the discipline, whether you're feeling it that day or not. And so I like to say discipline over motivation, but I mean, in general, I'm first generation American on my father's side. He immigrated here in the 70s. I have a chip on my shoulder that's stuck. And so, just kind of fulfilling the American dream, literally for him. That's why he immigrated here, to achieve the American dream. So for me personally, that's where that comes from. And having two daughters and wanting them to know, like, they can do anything they want and be 100% self-sufficient on their own. So it's, the motivation is there, but there is discipline and a mentality of getting up every day to get things done, even when the motivation isn't there.
Absolutely. So you're not just selling homes, you're running a property management company, training agents, and staying involved in the community. What kind of tools or resources help you keep all of this moving smoothly?
Coffee, tequila. Yeah, I think that's just my only gear. I mean, it's work hard, play hard. That's kind of who we are at McNabb & Co. I mean, we work hard, but I like to show rewards for the hard work. I think, and for example, we're going to Mexico next month for a team trip for people that qualify. So, I do believe in getting rewards, and not everybody gets the reward, not a participation award. There are goals we set. If the awards get achieved, then, get to do all these other things. But in general, I think the best thing that we do here is break bread together, spend time together. And I think that's just because we're all working together. I think a lot of brokerages, you have the agents inside fighting against each other, and then the broker trying to fight with the agents in terms of sales and this and that and the other. I would much rather be the lowest salesperson in the office. That would be my best position, that everyone in the office beats me. So that's my goal, is to get everybody else to do better than I'm doing, to sell more than I'm selling, and not, I'm not trying to take deals from them. So I think because that's the mentality, we kind of work together more as a team. So I just, have a great team. I don't have a, secretary or things of that nature. I think we just we just work well together. And it's, it's a not, I do take my time in the middle of the day and do my yoga and things like that, but then I jump right back in. So I think it's just a lot of movement.
Absolutely. And on the buyer and seller side, what do you offer that clients really appreciate?
I think on the seller side, one thing that is, more relative to, the last 5 or 6 or 7 years is just that we have the budget to spend the money to do the things to market a house that maybe somebody else doesn't. And at the end of the day, you have to spend money to make money. That was a lesson that took me a little bit to learn. I was kind of doing it backwards. I was seeing spending money as sort of a liability. And then you start to retrain your brain to say, well, it's an investment. So it's an asset. It's not a liability. It's a plus. It's not a negative. And so first I had to sort of come to that realization on my own. And then, any of my team, anybody knows, we want to, anybody that you might think is the best, doing the best in San Marcos, if they're here, we want to be here. It's pretty simple. So whatever they're doing, we're going to do that and more. So, and I'm willing to do what it takes and spend the money to make that happen. So on the seller side, on the buyer side, I think it's just spending the time. I mean, are you going to look at 5 houses, 20 houses, 50 houses? I don't know. What I do know and what I tell my team is every time you look at one house, then the percentage of that next house being the house is increased. And it's going to keep increasing until it's the house. So, it may be 50, it may be 1, but at the end of the day, going and showing is actually getting you closer to the sale. So again, it's just kind of flipping that script of like, oh, we're going to go look at another house and, or something like that, or it's not what they want, or it's not fitting the criteria, but they want to see it. That's okay. It's actually great to rule things out. I would go show them everything and just rule them out and get that where that next house is even that greater percentage of being a success. So,
yeah, absolutely. You're determining exactly what their desires are and what they don't like and what they like. And so that next house has much better chances of working because now you know more about that customer than you did the house before.
Yes.
So let's walk through the experience someone has when they work with McNabb & Co. or SMTX Property Management. What's the journey like?
It's pretty much fly by your seat of your pants. I mean, I no longer really hire somebody fresh out of just getting licensed. I will. And if I do, that means that you're super special and I think you're amazing. And I think that that you can just sort of tag along and figure it out. For a lot of people that are just getting licensed and maybe haven't even bought their own home themselves, I do usually recommend something like Keller Williams or somebody that's going to have all these courses in this classwork. That's not what's going to happen here. You're going to get thrown in. You're going to sink or swim. You're going to basically, I'm going to tell you, I'm showing property. I have a listing appointment, this, that, the other. You're just literally going to come with me. You're going to watch and learn until you get my spiel down. And then, of course, I'm not just regurgitating information. Our sales meetings, because I'm not teaching anymore, turn into my classroom. I love a good whiteboard. So, we're constantly looking at supply, demand, rates, relationship between rates and price. And so I'm always trying to give them, a broad knowledge as well as like what's actually happening right now. What did the Fed do last week? What's the Fed going to do in September? So we're talking about these things so that they have the knowledge and the understanding. But, am I going to be sitting down doing hours of this is how you fill out a check form? No. What I'm going to say is, here's the last contract I did. Log in, you fill it out the best you can and print it. And then I'm going to grade it. I'm going to redline it. Then you're going to go back and figure out why you did those things wrong. And then we're going to do it again. So, it has to, I have to hire somebody at this point that can handle that. Now, every question is a good question. I'm all about it. Ask me the questions, but we're going to be moving at a fast pace. So,
well, your method of taking them along though on appointments, they're going to learn literally so many times faster than trying to, take a class or read a book, or this is what you should say, just because it's live action. Like you say, throw them into the fire. And that is going to be the best way and the fastest way for them to learn and get up to speed quickly. So I think that's a great strategy.
Yes.
So what kind of feedback do you get from most clients?
Most clients love us. Not every single one. There are times, and it's okay, that sometimes it just doesn't work. If that's happening with someone on my team, I usually try to step in and resolve it, and try to pinpoint, oftentimes, I have to remind everybody that we're in customer service. So we do have to remember that. We are in customer service. I'm not going to force you to work with somebody you don't want to work to, or you're not jiving. I'll try to keep them. Maybe I can switch out the agent. But remembering that we're in customer service, the client's goals is our goal. And that going back to that personality, if I'm a strong personality and this person is not, then I might have to adjust my approach a little bit and put on, some kid gloves a little bit and just figure out how to maneuver a situation that's best for that person. And vice versa, but I would say on the whole, we tend to get really great reviews where, we literally all have fun every day at work. So I think that shows. We all genuinely like each other. We just went to Michael's wedding last month. 10 of us flew out for his wedding. We, you would think we'd be sick of each other, but we work all day and then we vacation together. So, we just all get along, and that shows in what we do when we walk out the door.
Yeah, it makes such a difference when you're working with people that you enjoy being with, right? Both at work and in leisure time. So you've seen San Marcos grow and change over the past 2 decades. What's happening in the market right now that buyers or investors should know?
So San Marcos is kind of an interesting little submarket. We do have the university. It's projected to be 50,000 students in the next not even 10 years. We went D1 in 2012. So we have Division I NCAA sports right here, which is one of my favorite things. I can be at a game in 10 minutes. You can't do that anywhere else. So I really watched the university grow as the sort of core economic engine. So that brings obviously students, professors, and then all the sort of secondary job market service related type things. Prices in San Marcos are probably a little bit higher than you would assume for a quote bedroom community, which I don't consider ourselves a bedroom community, but in terms of the, Austin, San Antonio, we are, in that corridor. And I think the reason is because of the university. So we stay a little insulated on some things. On the flip side, though, what's actually happening right now, we're in an oversupply situation, and the sellers have to come to grips with it. And some have, and some haven't. And, until those houses are absorbed, we won't go around the circle again. So we're kind of stuck in this. It's either oversupply or undersupply, one or the other. We're stuck in oversupply, which is interesting because if you look at other markets, they're still having bidding wars on the East Coast and other places. So I think for San Marcos, which probably a lot of places, our prices went so high through those COVID years that they just haven't quite made it back down, as well as people that bought at that time who are now trying to sell can't. They're bringing money to the table. So I think those things need to sort out a little bit, and that will happen when the supply starts to get absorbed and you get a little more equilibrium of supply and demand. Right now, it's not anywhere close to equilibrium. So I would say, if you're a strong buyer, now's your time to shine, regardless of the rates. That would be my advice. If you're a buyer, don't wait.
Yeah, exactly. Because as soon as the rates can start going down again, we're going to be back in that market where you have these multiple buyers, and then the prices are going to go up. It just is a natural flow of things. Once the rates come down, more buyers are qualified, more buyers get back in the market. So why does
power?
So why does San Marcos continue to draw people in?
Well, it's we have the San Marcos River, which is spring fed. So it literally starts here and goes all the way to the Gulf of America. Mm-hmm. And I think because of that, the history is so rich. Human beings have been in this area for so long because of this natural, beautiful river, which is 72 degrees all year long.
Wow.
All year. You can name the month, it doesn't matter. It's really incredible. So I think that's one just draw that's been a draw for, thousands of years. We're on the cusp of the hill country. So all of the, oak trees and just the terrain, people a lot of times think of Texas as flat. But that's not the case here. And just the proximity to, you could easily get to Austin, San Antonio, Wimberley, all kinds of great, amazing, cool places, even the beach. I mean, not that far away, but still have that sort of hometown. We have the town square. We still luckily have, some mom and pop restaurants and boutiques and things like that. So it's just a really great community. I think everybody here cares about the river, the trees, and loves the sort of natural landscape, but also likes that there is that sort of opportunity because of the university. So it's a perfect kind of hand-in-hand mix without being in a, big city like Austin or San Antonio.
Absolutely. Well, Monica, thank you for being with us. Your story from a college transfer student to an award-winning educator and community leader is a powerful reminder of how one person can shape the places we live and serve. Listeners, if you're buying, selling, investing, or even thinking about real estate in San Marcos, make your first stop to McNabbandco.com and connect with Monica on her team. You'll be glad you did. You can also see the connections in the show notes below. And of course, if you're ready to explore financing, I'm here to help. Visit us at dreamhomepodcast.com or reach out to me, John Nagle, at CMG Home Loans. If you loved this episode, hit subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone chasing their dream home. See you next time on the Dream Home Podcast. Monica, thanks so much. We really appreciate your being with us today. It's been a great podcast. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to the Dream Home Podcast, hosted by John Nagle. Ready to take the next step toward your dream home? Visit www.dreamhomepodcast.com for resources, tips, and expert advice. If you enjoyed today's episode, subscribe, leave a review, and join us next time for more real estate insights and mortgage tips. Until then, happy home hunting.